Okay, I got you. Membership. I missed my membership.
Travel away this way.
Mm-hmm.
You're nothing in the wild, so maybe me and a friend and the dog. Dog cruising back.
Oh, wow.
Okay, to go?
Control back into the road.
Oh, yeah. That's nice.
Oh, yeah.
I call the Board of Education meeting to order. Good evening, welcome to the May 2nd meeting of the Terrell County Board of Education. Our first item this evening is a moment of silence. Thank you. Our next item is the approval of the personnel agenda.
Prior to approval, I'll make a motion that we pull the certified contracts off of the personnel agenda prior to approval.
Mr. Lee has made a motion to remove an item from the personnel agenda prior to approval. Is there any discussion?
What did he say before?
Move all the certified contracts off of that.
Hearing no discussion, is there any more discussion? Sorry.
Can you expound on that a little bit as to?
I think the board has some options we need to look at prior to voting on all those contracts.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on my motion? How do you vote, Ms. Janey?
I don't know.
Oh, how do you vote, Ms. Robbins?
No.
How do you vote, Mr. Carlos?
Yes.
How do you vote, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Janey?
I had to say no too, because I'm not comfortable with what's been done.
Okay, and I vote yes. The personnel agenda is passed with the amendment in the motion. The next item is our approval of minutes. Oh, I take that back. Our next item is our consent agenda. Yeah. The next item is our consent agenda, and this evening we have the Beaufort County Community College Agreement. We have the face covering stance, which is going to be, it's taking a minute to come up, and that we remain optional for face masks on all TCS facilities. And then we have the face covering policy, which is option B, which allows us to remain optional, and then our fall policy updates. Is there any questions about the consent agenda?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Scripture has made a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. How do you vote, Ms. Janey? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Yes. How do you vote, Ms. Robin?
Yes.
How do you vote, Mr. Carlos?
Yes.
How do you vote, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The consent agenda is passed. Mr. Hawley, is there any need to reorder the agenda this evening?
Madam Chair, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. We're next down to our public forum. And give me just one moment. Just a note for everyone, the purpose of the public forum is to afford the public the opportunity to address the board in 3 minutes on matters related to policy or general concern. The board will listen and may ask questions to try to understand the matter being presented. As a general rule, the board delays discussion and/or decision until a later time. Since this is the only time on the agenda that the audience may participate in the board's meeting, if any person wishes to address the board, he or she should make it known at this time. And please remember that if you're addressing the board, you may not refer to a student or employee by name, as they are protected by law from such and may only be discussed in closed session as governed by board policy and commonly recognized practice. Ms. Janey, is there anyone on the public sign-in forum?
No.
Is there anyone who did not sign in that would like to speak this evening and sign in? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed with the agenda. Our next item is commendations, awards, and presentations.
Madam Chair, as I've said repeatedly, this is one of the highlights of being a superintendent, is highlighting all the great work that our students, staff, and other individuals have done. Tonight, we have a couple of items. Before we get into the presentation, I also just want to recognize and say a happy National School Principal Day, as it actually has started to be celebrated on Monday, which today was actually Sunday of the day. So to all of our principals, we have two with us, and Mr. Ziegler, listening at home, we want to thank you for everything that you continue to do, not only for the students of Terrell County Schools, but you also are affecting our region, our state, and our nation. Our kids, under your leadership, Dr. Talley, Ms. Matthias, Mr. Ziegler, you prepared them to go out to the real world. So I thank you and I appreciate you for that. Also to our teachers in the Accommodation Awards, Teacher Appreciation Week. I've heard about the goodies. I know some more things that are coming around. I'm almost scared that everybody's going to pick up about another 5 pounds messing around this week. But to our teachers, for those of you that are here, for staff that is here, to everyone, I hope I'm in the right cameras. For all of you, we appreciate everything that you continue to do. This has been a really, really, really crazy time in education. We've come off the year of COVID, staff, teachers, parents as well. You have been over backwards, and this year has been a trying year. And so I think just in the last couple of years of celebrating you as a staff, I want to take that moment to just congratulate you as well. Also, I want to congratulate Ms. Carolyn Simmons, Mr. Doug Patrick, Mr. Mike Cole. I could not remember if I officially did this in a meeting, but I know we talked about it off and on. But the hard work of those 3 individuals and some other people, we did get approval a couple of weeks back of $101,000 that the district has the opportunity to upgrade our athletic facilities. So to those 3 or 4 individuals, I thank you for everything you've done, because at the end of the day, our student athletes will benefit from your hard work. So I appreciate that. Also, it's Mental Health Awareness Week, month actually. May is the month of mental health awareness. And at this time, then more than ever, as I just talked about earlier, we have to be cautious and understanding of what folks and our staff are going through. So make sure that in this month of May, we do, and I don't know if this is why Ms. Myra put on green today, or she just timed it just right. I know that green ribbons are assigned for that, but thank you again. And in our capital needs-based grant, I just want to thank the work of the board, all of the directors, and all of that. We did get official word on last week that we did get an additional $514,000 to add to our $600,000 on top of our local match. And if my math is correct, that puts us at $1.4 million that we have secured for the district to do the improvements that this board, quite honestly, I believe under the work of Dr. Hoffman, Dr. Twyford carried that torch. I was able to come in, and this board, we did some great work here recently to get that additional funding. So thank you, because that building is going to do nothing but help our students and help our community as well. And then lastly in mind, before we get into the presentation, is this young lady behind me. Board, I want to introduce to you as of Sunday of Mother's Day, the newest graduate of ECU with her master's in school administration. So Ms. Pearl, I just want to take a moment to thank you, because any of us that have taken that journey, we know that you give up a lot of time from your family, you give a lot of time up, sometimes at lunch, because you're working on your reports and all. So hard work pays off, and congratulations to you. And so with that, Madam Chair, those are my accommodations and awards, but we also have 2 special guests in here with us today, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Ms. Matthias and our wonderful media librarian extraordinaire, Ms. Davenport.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Holly. Yes, my name is Casey Davenport. I am the media coordinator at the high school, but as he said, and I like to use the old school term, librarian, because we know what that means, but we have a lot of roles these days. I also serve the middle school students, so I feel really fortunate that I get to work with all 6th through 12th graders. And this year, my first year in Tyrrell County, I took on the responsibility as the yearbook advisor. And I'm trying to see this.
They want you to go louder. Bless you.
Okay, I know. I do have a teacher voice, but you guys aren't under 8, you guys aren't kids, so it's harder. It's harder to talk. The only experience I had with yearbooks or any kind of design like that was when I was in high school as a freshman. But other than that, this was all new to me. So it was a challenge, but it was really fun. And it was new to all the students that I worked with as well. We had 11 on staff this year. Matthias was an editor with, as well as one other student, and then we had 2 others that really put in a lot of hours on this book, and I'm really proud of them. And it was all extracurricular because it was a club this year, but next year it's gonna be an actual class. So I'm really excited about that, to get to have that as a class. And the class is also gonna just cover the basics of journalism, news literacy, recognizing misinformation, and also the basics of graphic design. So we're gonna get to do a lot of fun and interesting things in that class next year. Okay, you can go to the next one. But this is the yearbook cover. It's coming out next week. But this is the you can go to that link if you want. This was the organization that held the convention that we attended, and I really like their mission statement, so I was just going to read that. It's to support free and responsible scholastic journalism by providing resources and educational opportunities, by promoting professionalism, by encouraging and rewarding student excellence and teacher achievement, and by fostering an atmosphere which encompasses diversity yet builds unity. And I also have a curriculum from them that I'll be using as part of my class next year. But now on to the trip. I'll tell you about that. The convention is there, they mentioned. So we flew to LA on April 6th, and it was a huge event. It's the national convention for high school students and advisors, and it was really inspiring to just see how much work and creativity was going into some of these yearbooks and broadcasts and all the other programs that they had under their journalism programs. And I know TC has a goal of getting our book in the competition next year. So some of the sessions we attended were topics like the 5 R's of team building, photojournalism, caption writing, interviewing skills, and it was just really inspiring and educational, and we're really hoping to return to the convention next year and bring even more students. But it really was a dream of mine when I found out about the convention. I didn't really know if it could happen. So I really appreciate Mr. Ziegler and Mr. Holly and the board for supporting that experiential learning, which means going out into the world to learn and, to supplement the classroom learning. And that's all for me. And I know TC is going to share her experience. And we'll just go through the pictures. These are just some of our pictures, just to show some of the things we did.
Okay, so the journalism convention trip was a great experience. I met people that are as passionate as I am about yearbooks. I learned many useful tips there. One of the NFL photographers shared with us some of his techniques and gave us some tips on how to use different camera lenses. I also attended a leadership meeting where they shared ways that we can include everyone that we're working with, let them express what they're best at, and how to make a productive, fun, and caring workplace for students. The conferences are a great way to put interpersonal skills to work, sitting at tables with people from different states, asking professionals questions and tips. And you're exposed to many different types of people. In LA, I saw people with all types of behaviors, people that are classy, humble, patient, friendly, positive, and with good work ethics. I was also exposed to a different environment. I saw things I don't usually see in North Carolina. The cultural diversity was amazing. There were so many people from Asia, India, Hispanics, and African descendant. On just 2 blocks, there were sushi restaurants, Indian food, California-style pizza, taco, and burrito places. You can find all types of things within walking distance. The city wakes up early in the morning and there are all types of people walking. You see people in suits rushing to work, people running in their workout clothes, and people riding bikes between cars as if it was nothing. There were younger kids riding the metro alone or with their friends. It was a great experience and I really enjoyed it. I saw real world problems I don't usually see. The smog and pollution of the city firsthand, not just in a textbook or online. There were also a lot of homeless people there. And I really thought that was only in movies because I usually don't see that in North Carolina. The trip to LA was one in a lifetime opportunity to learn more about journalism and the world we live in. I am excited to share everything I learned with the class next year. As one presenter said, it doesn't hurt to try, it hurts not to try. I will definitely be putting in a lot of effort into the yearbook production next year and hope to go next year's convention.
You want to show the last slide? We did better at sales than we even predicted, so our first printing sold out, but there's going to be a second printing. If you want to buy a copy, just email me. You'll be glad. And then you'll see the improvement next year.
Ms. Davenport, I know that I just want to, and I told you this in your media center, I'll tell you public. Same thing I told Ms. Alon, I'm really appreciative of all of our staff, but especially that media center library, because we talk about raising achievement scores in math and reading, to be honest. We have to have these types of things. And so for you to even have the thought of, hey, let me ask you, can we take a bunch of kids to LA, and not being afraid to do that, and for this board, Mr. Ziegler, and everybody else that assisted in this, Ms. Carolyn, Ms. Linda, I'm just glad that you have it, because one thing I can guarantee you, teacher, you will never forget that experience. You may forget who was your third grade teacher, but I guarantee you, you will never forget that experience going to LA. So thank you, and I'm just thankful that y'all did push and we were able to, be able to let this happen for our children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and sharing your trip details. Keep recordings.
So on the screen, and I think we are ready to, I think we're seeing it from here. I don't believe that we can expand on it. And I'll yield to Dr. Talley too if he wants to say anything. And so our media program, our media centers and library have been rocking. We just sat here in a high school where students had an opportunity to go to LA. And we have right here Ms. Alon, so I just got her name out of my mouth. Our students went and competed and won second place in the Battle of the Books competition at Hines against Crestwell. One of the things that is very important to our Battle in the Books competition. Our kids can do everything they wanted to do here, but until this board made a decision to allow us to put these 2 individuals in, our kids now have an opportunity to compete further than just locally. So, you know, that work that they've been doing, Dr. Talley, I'll be quiet for a second and let you shine some light on your team, but I just want to thank you and Ms. Alons, and quite honestly, all those teachers at the elementary school and staff members that help those kids prepare, because it's not a one-person job. So, Doc, I'll yield to you if there's anything you want to say in support of your team.
I just wanted to say we just recently had our Scholastic book Extravaganza, and I was going to announce that when I got up, but you're seeing product of that right there, and it was a wonderful night. We had science night at the same time. Sold 700 plates, sold out of Captain Bob's barbecue and chicken. So I hope some of you got some of that. And it was just a great night. A lot of parents coming out and feeling what we're doing, walking up and down our halls, either in mask or without, but they just loved being there. They were grateful to be there and be able to be among their children. So, and Ms. Alons, hats off to her. She has done an excellent job, and she continues. And a hard worker, and just very, very positive about the direction of that school.
Madam Chair, that concludes my combination awards and presentation.
You went so fast with our principals and teachers. I would just like us to take a moment, especially at our at-home audience, to give a round of applause to all our educational staff and our principals, as it is Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you for all you do for our students. The next item we have is our comprehensive needs assessment presentation with Dr. Susan Silver. Hi.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start with a quick mic check to make sure you can hear me okay.
You got you, Doc.
Perfect. Thank you. It's good to see everybody again. Ms. Yancy, can you pull up the PowerPoint? Or would you like me to share?
You have rights to share it to Dr. Silver.
Yes, she can
You
share.
can share your screen, Dr. Silver.
I can share? Okay, I'll do that.
Dr. Silver, do you need us to take control here on our side?
We all have.
Let me see, I'm gonna give it one more try.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I saw another file. Yeah, they all have
We
it.
all have it. The board all has it.
So if you
that's
want to,
helpful.
Okay,
And then we can put it on the website.
I think,
There it is.
yeah, I think I have it now.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you all for bearing with me.
No problem.
Every time I use a different system, I have to adjust to it. So good evening, everyone. Let me start again. I'm glad to be back with you. I was with you back in February at your board meeting with the team that was at that time conducting your needs assessment, and pleased to get the invitation back to share high level what our findings were, and also to talk about next steps. So just to start by giving an overview again about what our purpose was and what we were doing with the CNA. Again, thank you, Madam Chair and Superintendent Holly, for engaging in this process and really beginning a true partnership with the agency to truly support Carroll. And that journey begins with your CARES work, but also digging in and getting some baseline assessment data that's not just performance data for student achievement, but also talking to stakeholders to really get a clear view of what's going on in schools. And I will say that in every setting we were in, everyone was incredibly welcoming and also incredibly transparent in sharing what they felt worked well about Carroll County schools, and also what they felt like were very high leverage very needed areas to be addressed. So overall, what we want to provide for you all as a district, a clear picture of the quality of education that's being provided in your schools, so that we can support your strategic planning process. For schools, an objective, clear view of strengths and areas for improvement. When you are in the fire every day and you are engaging in that work, it can be difficult to pull up and see that higher level view. So that's what we hope to provide. And finally, for all your stakeholders, which is part of presenting this publicly as part of your board, helping them get some feedback and understand that this is a developmental tool for change, meaning that we are always on a progression towards improvement. So the feedback we get today is not where we will be next school year or the school year after that or the school year after that, because we're continually trying to navigate this journey of improvement. And I've done improvement for a long time, and I know it has ebbs and flows. So this is the first step in that. Just a reminder of what our CNA model does. There's a focus on impact and outcomes. So as you're hearing the feedback tonight, remember to take into account that it's not just about what we're doing. It's about what the impact of those things are and what outcomes we are seeing from it. These were based on professional judgments about the things we were hearing from people and the quality of education that the school was providing. And we triangulate that with evidence. So are we seeing it or hearing it from 3 different people? And very lucky on the team that I had with me for your district CNA, we had 2 deputy superintendents who were former superintendents, so a robust level of experience there. And I've been doing this work since 2007, and our other colleague has worked in other districts as well at the central office level. So really a knowledge base there to really provide some feedback based on years of experience. We do use a rubric, and it's not a compliance-based thing. This was not something you all were forced to do, and we don't come back with things to say, correct this by this time or else. It is truly a partnership, and it is truly there to support improvement. So there's no stipulations with this, no things you have to do. It's really to start a conversation about what would you like to do at this data going forward, knowing that we all have as the end goal in mind, improving student achievement. Just a reminder of the areas that we look at for both the schools and the district. In the middle, right there at the heart of what we do, teaching and learning and support for student achievement. Also look at leadership capacity, professional capacity, planning and operational effectiveness, and family and community engagement, because all those pieces are needed to support school transformation. So we're going to look at the schools first. These are just what we call the ratings. So schools receive a rating for each dimension. I tell people this is the headline, but not the story. The story is in the reports that the school received and in the report that your superintendent received. That evidence that we share is the most important thing, but people do always want to know ratings. So ratings were pretty consistent across all of the dimensions, except for the final one, families and communities, where 2 schools scored an emerging rating. So getting to the story, what I would like to do is share some of the key findings for the school, and then I'm going to share with you as a district what your things you did well were and areas for improvement. So some key findings from the schools. One thing that was clear is that the district has gone all in a collaboration with the NCI-DPI CARES team to support academic development. And that's really important because we could see that that is beginning. The impact wasn't there yet, but consistency is beginning to exist. And that's so important because what we found at the district level is that we don't have somebody in charge of teaching and learning specifically dedicated to the curriculum piece. So having some consistency through this work with the CARES team is essential right now. So that is establishing a consistent approach to instructional planning and delivery. As I said earlier, practices are not yet embedded among staff, but that is very natural because remember I said earlier, this is a developmental process. You all really began engaging in this work back in early summer of last year. So it would not be at an embedded level yet, but the point being you must continue to engage in this work if we are going to reach the embedded level. So areas for improvement included increasing academic rigor, increasing instructional pacing, and continued focus on implementation of instructional expectations. So the instructional framework is there. Now there needs to be consistent monitoring, consistent support to help teachers in making sure they are implementing that at the robust level needed to really increase that academic rigor. Other key findings, many students' social and emotional needs are met. That's the high one. I heard Superintendent Hollis speak about all that emotional, social and emotional support, and really focusing on mental health issues. So that was a strength that came out. That is one of our stronger areas here in Terrell. Data analysis protocols and practices are beginning. So again, you began engaging in that work of really developing professional learning communities with your teachers, not an embedded practice yet, but certainly what we saw was that that needs to be continued with the pedal to the floor, like really focusing on those things so that we can use that data to provide targeted support. So we're looking at the data, having those conversations. Is not yet shaping the instruction consistently as we would like, but that's the area to grow to. Professional development provided to teachers in partnership, again, with the NCDPI CARES team, provides a clear focus in instructional support. Again, that's so essential because, as we stated earlier, not having a curriculum dedicated position at the central office, having that to provide your clear focus is really essential right now until perhaps things change, and that is a focus area for one person. And utilizing instructional monitoring to reinforce the instructional framework and provide professional development. So we've all heard the old adage that what gets monitored is what gets done, right? So if we want teachers to continue to engage in those practices and we want to show that we as district leadership value those, the instructional monitoring is an essential piece of that. They really go hand in hand. So now for the district level, which is where you all are truly engaged here. The other work is left to your dedicated principals in partnership with the central office. But I want to go through what the district does well first, and we want to really applaud those things, and then we'll move to areas for improvement. So as I said in the other slide, you've worked hard in developing that partnership, which I know from talking with folks during the district review was not easy. There's always concern when the state comes in, but you all really embrace that. And I will tell you, the CNA results show that while it's not embedded yet, it is paying off. The practices are developing. So the district has adopted an instructional framework that is beginning to provide consistency in teaching practices across the 3 schools. So we're starting at consistency. What we need to move to is effectiveness, right? The need and expectation for change in instructional practices is demonstrated throughout the adoption of CARES initiatives, including the instructional framework, professional learning communities, and coaching support. So by doing that, by saying we're going to engage in this partnership, that sends a clear message that Terrell County Schools is ready for instructional change so that your children, like all other children in North Carolina, can have a world-class education. And we've seen from the presentations tonight that that is absolutely possible. And what we want to make sure of is that it's not handfuls of students who are having these experiences, but it's truly an experience that all children in Terrell County can have access to. Last one, despite the age of the facilities, there is a concerted effort to provide adequate space and well-maintained learning environments, as well as technology infrastructure and supplies to support instruction. So I know there's a lot of discussion around the aging facilities and some potential partnerships that could be in place to build a new facility, but we wanted to applaud you for working with what you got. Buildings do get old, and it takes a lot of effort to maintain those, and your staff does a great job of that. And also making sure that despite the rural nature of the district, that students have access to that technology infrastructure that they need to really support relevancy and being able to do more research-based global education activities. Okay. So let's move on to what the district needs to improve. First, what we have is create a student-focused mission and vision that drives all decision-making in the district. In talking to stakeholders during the district review, we found that there's still a lot of adult behaviors that are driving decision-making. So making sure that students are at the center of all decisions, all conversations that are being had. Second bullet, work with the board chair to arrange training for school board members to further develop their capacity to fulfill legislative duties and responsibilities. So this is the one that is really a working point for you as a board. It would be most advantageous at this point to develop a professional development plan for your board, just like typically there's one for teachers or schools have a professional development plan for the year. We would recommend that the board look at trainings that are available and put together a schedule. Here are the trainings we're going to engage in, because there are some legislative duties and responsibilities for you as a board and also for your superintendent that everybody needs to be aware of so that we aren't through no ill will of any sort, but we aren't working against legislation that we are supposed to be following. So we highly recommend that the board put that kind of plan in place and then plan to engage in professional development. And I know you have some changes coming soon with your board. Still wouldn't hurt to go ahead and start laying out that plan so that whoever comes on or goes off has a plan to look to. Next one, refine the strategic plan by including baseline metrics, benchmarks for success, deliverables to guide ongoing improvement efforts of the district, and persons responsible for each area. So you all just completed a strategic plan, but one thing we heard from several stakeholders is that wasn't as a collaborative experience as you would have liked. So this is an opportunity to go in and refine what's there. It will take time, so you're looking at some work sessions if you want to be engaged at the level that you would like, but making sure, well, how are we going to accomplish this? What will it look like when we do? And what's the timeline? And who's going to be responsible for that? Next one, improve district operations by realigning the current instructional organizational structure to increase efficiency. One thing we heard is that roles change frequently, in part because of turnover, in part because of trying to find the right fit. But it's really important that as you move forward to thinking about what are our most essential areas for improvement. If that is academics, who do we devote there? And then what are the operational things that we have to have a solid person in there to ensure that we stay in compliance. Compliance is also an important thing, right? Clearly defining and communicating roles and responsibilities for board members, the superintendent, central office, and school leaders. So we want everybody to have a clearly, here are our roles and responsibilities so that we don't get in each other's way, so that we are supporting one another and integrating our work. So we certainly don't want people to work on islands, but we want the work to be in a way so that it's supporting and uplifting one another. We're developing good relationships where the public understands what everybody's role is and then can work through those channels. And last one, ensure processes are utilized to formally evaluate the superintendent, central office staff, and school leaders based on a collaboratively developed set of goals that aligns to data, feedback, and strategic goals. Again, that was an area that the review team found was missing. Was an agreed upon process for folks to be evaluated so that you can ensure one, accountability, two, support, and three, just to make sure that you are moving towards those goals that you would like to reach. So those were that's the district level summary feedback. More details in that full report that we have there, which leads me to next steps. So with working with your schools, we engage with each of the principals, except for your elementary principal, because there was a bit of transition there, in what we call a virtual bridge support. So that happened right after their visit to support them in moving forward with an area for improvement right away. And that took place with staff from my team who are called instructional review coaches. We are working now with your CARES team and those there at the central office to begin scheduling an unpacking training. So point being that we didn't just write reports and say bye, we are going to continue that support. So what we worked with during that training is a 2-day training with the school improvement team to talk to them about, and what do we do with these results? How do we use it to drive our school improvement? So we are working to get those scheduled later in the summer. Once some staffing things are solidified and you all have a plan for moving forward, we will come in and support those folks who are hired. We have diagnostic liaison support for the schools. So these are folks on my team who keep the work moving. So we got these results, again, what do we do with them? And they check in at least quarterly with your principals. And if principals request more support, they can certainly do that. You also, of course, have CARES team support, your CARES team that is there. You also have a district leadership coach that supports you and your regional director, which is Dr. Stickney, who can support you as well. And the last thing I would add, just like the schools have an unpacking, we also offer a district unpacking, which would be a 2-day type work session. And we do encourage that essential members of the central office be there, but also a few board members, particularly since some of the bullets directly address board action. So that would be our recommendations. We wouldn't recommend the full board because that would constitute a formal meeting. But if you wanted to determine representatives, certainly your chair to be there, to be a part of really collaboratively developing next steps for the work going forward. I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Madam Chair for any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Dr. Silver, for that presentation. Are there any questions from the board?
No.
I don't think there's any questions, Dr. Silver. Thank you so much for that presentation, and we will be in touch with unpacking that at the district level, and thank you for all the work you've done at our school levels. Our staff tell us.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'll close by saying Happy Principals Day to all 3 of your principals.
Thanks.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is the North Carolina School Board Association report of the superintendent search surveys and leadership profile selection. And Miss Nancy Black with the North Carolina School Board Association will be joining us.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I'm going to see about sharing the screen. It looks like, there you go. Does that work?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Alrighty. All right. As she said, I'm Nancy Black with the North Carolina School Boards Association. When I saw you last, it was April 4th, and the board had approved surveys to obtain input from the community and staff on what they think it is important to have in the next superintendent. The survey links were available the next day so that the community and staff had an opportunity to respond, and that opportunity was available until about midnight of last Wednesday. So they had about 3 weeks to fill out a survey, and we appreciate everyone that did. Last Friday, we provided the board the full survey report and all the surveys. I'm here tonight to provide a brief report to the public on the responses we received and also to the board. And after I finish going through these few slides, I will assist the board in working to develop a profile of the next superintendent to use throughout the rest of the search process. So all surveys, as I said, were completed and submitted by last Wednesday. A good number of community and staff responded, with 100 people starting in the community and 71 completing the entire survey. 25 folks from the community provided comments. 80 people from the staff started surveys and 70 completed. So we received 32 comments from staff. This slide shows some of the demographic information on who in the community responded to the surveys. And a full 70%, as you can see, of those responding do live in the attendance area. A little more than 20% of those who responded were students, so you had some student engagement. Nearly 40% graduated from Terrell County schools, and nearly 40% are parents of Terrell County school students. Only 20% actually did not have a school-age child, and slightly less than 20% were retired. A little more than 10% are in business in the area, and a couple were elected officials. No active duty military responded. The next slide will show you a little bit more of a breakdown of the parents of Terrell County students. We wanted to know what grade level their children were in for those who were responding. And as you can see, almost 30% were parents of high school students. Nearly as many, about 28%, were parents of middle school children. Elementary parents made up about 25% of those who responded, and 4% were pre-K parents. This slide shows some of the demographics for staff. We asked what job the person holds who is filling out the survey. Teachers by far represent the majority of staff responding to the surveys, with 40% being over there in that left-hand area. Between 15 and 20% were support staff at the school level. Less than 5% were school-level administrators, such as principals and assistant principals. Nearly 10% responding were district-level support staff, and a little more than 5% were district-level administrators. 10% answered other, whatever that is. This slide looks at the school level of the staff who responded to the surveys. It shows that the majority were working in elementary school. 35% is that figure. 25% of those responding work in high school, and a little more than 20% work in middle school. Over 10% were central office staff, and a few staff members worked in pre-K. Now we're going to take a look at the characteristics that people who responded indicated were important to them to see in the next superintendent. Survey participants were able to rate characteristics like you see here on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not important at all and 5 being extremely important. And on the next 2 slides, you will see the results. We have more attributes, but we chose to show you the top 10 for each group. For the community is on the left, and for the staff is on the right. And all of these were in the top 10, so all of them are important. On the left, you'll see that the number 1 characteristic people in the community are interested in the new superintendent is understanding how to provide a safe environment at school. Staff also thought this was important, although it's number 6 on the next slide for staff. The number 1 characteristic for the staff, if you look in the right-hand column, is that the new superintendent be able to communicate well with people of all races and socioeconomic status. The community also thought this was important since it ranks as number 3. Advocating for resources is highly ranked by both the community and staff. You can see it's number 2 for the community and number 5 for the staff. Both groups said the new superintendent needs to know how to get everyone in the school and the community to work together to help children learn. Both ranked it as 4. Communication with all community groups is in the top 5 for both groups. Number 5 for the community and 2 for staff. Community respondents thought the new superintendent should know how to effectively delegate authority. And this one, interestingly, is not in the top 10 for staff members who responded. Having strong people skills was number 3 for staff and number 7 for the community. And of course was in the top 10. Understanding finances, budgets, and business management was in the top 10 as well. Number 8 for the community and 10 for staff. While having ideas to improve the graduation rates and prevent students from dropping out was number 9 for the community, this is another one that was not in the top 10 for staff. Both groups thought the superintendent needs to be highly visible in the schools, and 2 of the top 10 characteristics for staff were not in the top 10 for the community, or items 7 and 8. Staff would like for the new superintendent to be someone who is accessible and responds to concerns in a timely manner, and who supports firm discipline in the schools. So that is a quick review of the information we obtained, and the board did have an opportunity. We sent them the full report with all the characteristics everyone had submitted and information from the surveys. So now is a great time for the board to come up with a leadership profile to respond to all this input and use going forward in the superintendent search. Any questions, or is the board ready, or how would we like to proceed, Madam Chair?
Are you guys ready to do our leadership profile? Or do y'all have questions about the report that Ms. Nancy has reported on?
I'm ready to move forward.
Ms. Jamie, Ms. Robin, ready to go forward?
Mr. Carlos? I think we're all ready to move forward.
Okay. Having a little trouble open this. Hang on a second. All right, I was gonna type out the attributes, but I'll just take notes. If you all want to go around and have each board member tell one or two characteristics that they are looking for in the next superintendent, we will then take that information and provide you with the profile to use going forward.
Okay. Would anyone like to volunteer to go first with their characteristics?
I like the communication with all community groups, if that's.
Did you hear that, Ms. Nancy?
I can't hear, no. What did she say?
Communicates well with all community groups.
Communicates well with all
Community groups.
students and groups.
It'll work.
And I'll
Okay.
echo that. I think a strong and effective communicator is vital.
Strong and effective communicator.
And I echo that as well.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Janey, you want to add?
Effective advocate for resources needed, because we really need to be in Turner County.
Did you hear that one, Ms. Nancy?
I heard effective advocate
For resources,
for resources.
Needed.
I also agree with that one. I think that's a good one too.
Okay.
Do you have another one, Ms. Janey? Are you good? Okay. Does anybody want to go next? Or just go down the line?
I think we need to have someone who has some previous school administration experience.
Okay. Previous school administration experience. All right. Next.
I would like to see us look for a collaborator, someone who can bring all stakeholders, whether it be students, staff, parents, community members, to understand education, to understand how we get our students to learn and achieve.
Collaborator who understands education and how we get our students to learn and achieve.
But also brings together all the stakeholders to understand their roles they play within that.
Okay, bring together all the stakeholders to, what was the last bit of that?
To understand the roles they play in helping us achieve those academic goals.
Okay. Understand the roles all stakeholders play in helping the students to achieve. All right. Anything else?
Has anybody got anything else?
Someone, I'm trying to figure out how to best say this, someone that knows how to, knows about low-income communities such as ours.
Okay. Someone who knows about low-income communities such as yours. Okay. That's a good one.
I do think we need to find someone who has some type of management experience with school finance and budgets or business management, just because in the state of North Carolina, it does get cumbersome at times with all of the General Assembly requirements that are put on public education. So someone who understands how all that kind of works together.
Absolutely. Someone with management experience who understands school finance and budgets. Any more thoughts?
Anyone have any other ideas?
I'll go look into everything that's been said.
Okay, I know. We do. I would like to also add that I think it's important for someone to understand the academic process and to have a look at, even though we excel with some pretty high graduation rates in the state, but also closing that achievement gap, but at the same time increasing our academic rigor. That has been shown with our just our presentation right before you, that we need to continue on that trend. So someone who understands some of that too, the curriculum aspect and instructional piece and how much it fits in to our school system.
Okay. Someone who understands the academic process in closing the achievement gap and also in increasing academic rigor in the school system. Good.
Has anyone got anything else to add?
If we come up with something later, we can email it.
Ms. Nancy, the question was asked, if someone comes up with something later, can they share that via email or does it have?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Of course, you can always do that. I'm always available for you to email me or whatever. I think we probably need to put a time limit on it, so that follow-up would be within the next few days, so we can keep the process moving, and you'll be ready to review applications when that comes up. So the application deadline is May 16th.
Okay.
So I think as long as you can get it to me in the next week or so, we'll be good.
Okay.
Because we're going to take all this information and we will create a custom rating chart for you, which I think you've used in the past, and we'll have it with each candidate for you to use as you interview.
Does anybody have any other questions for Ms. Nancy? Thank you, Ms. Nancy.
Oh, I'm just so happy to help. I'm sorry I'm not there, but I'm glad to see you via Zoom.
It's great to see you. And at least you didn't have to. Thank
We'll
you.
look forward to working with you going forward.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item on our agenda is in-service and instructional program reports. And our first one up is school reports in Terrell Elementary School with Dr. Wayne Talley.
Madam Chair, Board,
Good evening.
Mr. Holly,
Good afternoon, Doc.
I look better than this morning. But anyway. Had a good day at school. Well, as already mentioned previously, we had a great science night, Scholastic book Extravaganza night. Sold a lot of plates, made some money. Not a lot of money, but we made some money. But Miss Niederhoff and Ms. Armstrong and Ms. Alonso were all responsible for that. We had just a big crowd of folks, and all the staff pulled together to pull that off. We had a successful field day Friday, and all the staff came together for the students at different stations to let them go out and enjoy themselves. And it was really great, and I appreciate Ms. Schaffner. She didn't get her kudos before she walked out, but she provided food and snacks for us, and a couple of our bus drivers cooked hot dogs and hamburgers. So it was a great day for everybody. Commotions was on campus again today for every grade level, thanks to Mrs. Curls, and they always do a wonderful job. DSS did a sexual abuse awareness program and planted little blue and silver twirlies all over our campus, but they presented to our 3rd through 5th graders. They put pinwheels, that's what they're called, all over our campus, and they did a good job. Hotline, I've mentioned this before, but they did come work in a presentation on good touch, bad touch, some of our students. That's always beneficial to make sure we do that with taste in class, and yet at the same time inform students of what is appropriate and inappropriate. Kindergarten registration is underway. At this time, we only have 2 kindergartners registered, and if you'll put that on top of our pre-K4 numbers and we don't lose any, that'll make a total of 19 students. We hope that grows, but we'll see. Mrs. Diana Sproul and Ms. Sarah Edge will deliver a presentation about hygiene and puberty to our 3rd through 5th grade girls on May the 19th. The Lions Club came last week and did a visual screening for all our students, every one of them that would participate. Now, some of them opted out, and that was fine, but they came last Wednesday and Thursday and had machinery set up and were able to do every student in the school that had permission to do so. We're busy with our end of the year closeout. I'm not going to try to steal anybody's thunder, but we're working with developing our summer programs. A lot of these are going to have to wait till we get our scores in, but some of them we already know will be involved in reading camp, summer school, and I-Cares. As of today, since today is over, we only have 15 days of instruction left until we begin our EOGs. So, you know, our teachers are teaching like their hair is on fire. I mean, we're getting after it. EOGs begin on the 24th and run through the 26th. On the 18th, we're going to have an hour-long presentation from Procosin Arts, and a man will come and speak to all our 4th graders and also exhibit African artifacts. So that should be interesting. I don't know if you've been by the elementary school. Some of you haven't seen there since I've been there, but we have a new rug in our foyer as you come in, dedicated to our students. It's a bulldog, and on the center of it, it says Terrell Elementary. And Doug is not here tonight, or I don't think he is.
No, sir.
Okay. I do want to put kudos out to him because he has come by and while it was raining, found out where it was raining from outside to inside. And of course, I think he's going to actively seek out a way to stop that. There are a couple of places in our building that need to be repaired. And I know this may sound a little humorous, but if it happened in your home, it wouldn't be. We had 2 faculty bathrooms that we had to replace 2 commode seats on. They did it really quickly, so that's nice. Some of those seats, I promise you, they were there a long time. So anyway, he got right after that, and he's been real cooperative about everything we've tried to do. So if you had a bad commode seat in your house, it would be fixed, I imagine. But that's part of running a school. You have to just do what you need to do.
Yep.
So, are there any questions from anyone?
No, thank you. Ms. Audrey, will you share the public performance of commotion details?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Tomorrow evening, 5:30 in the Madge Van Horn Auditorium. Commotion will be there, and we invite especially our elementary and middle school students that participated in the live workshops over the last several months. There were a total of 4 live workshops, and they learned about different Latin countries and cultures and movement. And so we'd like to share what all they have done during those workshops. And so anyone from the community, families, students, please come and attend tomorrow in the auditorium at 5:30 p.m. And any of our students that aren't too shy are welcome to come up on stage and show everybody what they've learned as well.
That's awesome. Thank you for doing that for our community. Next up, we have Columbia Middle School, Miss Linda Matthias.
Madam Chair, Mr. Holly. Like everyone said, this is a busy time. So we've been working really hard, and we'll continue to work hard on working on EOG strategies and taking mock tests. And then what we're doing from the mock test, we're gathering data from that, looking at that data, and then during win time, working on the standards that the students did not perform well in. We've also re-looked at our win time and looked at any personnel that is available during that block so that we can break our students up into groups of 10 or less. So we've been working on that. Tomorrow, myself and Ms. O'Kelly, Ms. Kaminsky, and Ms. Carly Davis will be attending an MTSS virtual session in the morning that's put on by DPI. We have some more CARES team planning for the summer tomorrow. And one important professional development that will be taking place this month is our EOG test administrator and proctor training, which is on May 23rd. Our last baseball game is this week. It's tomorrow against Lawrence. Again, our third commotion assembly is tomorrow. We'll be having an LOL lunch on Wednesday, and that's noon to 1. Our athletic banquet is May 18th. Our 8th grade awards and luncheon will be combined, and that'll be Friday, May 27th at noon. We'll do 6th and 7th grade awards that same day at 2 p.m. in the auditorium. And then our EOG testing schedule will begin the Tuesday when we come back from Memorial Day. We'll have the 8th grade science EOG. The next day we'll have reading. The next day will be math. And then Friday is makeup testing. Also on Friday that day we'll have our field day. So Dr. Talley talked about how many days they have left. At the elementary school of instruction, we actually only have 19 days, so we're really, like he said, working hard to get our students ready for the EOGs. Any questions about the middle school?
No, thank you for that presentation. Thank you.
I have Mr.
Yes, it is.
Ziegler's report
Okay.
too. He says it's the busiest month of the school year, and it definitely is always for high school principals. He has awards on Thursday, May 5th, senior awards night in the auditorium. Tuesday, May 17th at 6 p.m., underclassmen awards in the auditorium. Thursday, May 19th at 6:30 are his athletic awards. And of course, the top one, Friday, June the 3rd, 7 p.m. is graduation. High school testing is the week of May 23rd through the 27th, where they'll have end of course, CTE, and finals for the high school. He wants to recognize some students. They had their prom this past Saturday, and they had 80 students. It was the most that he had seen attend the event. He wanted to thank Miss Laura Biggs for organizing, Miss Casey Davenport, Mr. Beaumont, Miss Lori Davenport, Miss Dawn White, and the SRO Franks for chaperoning, and Miss Christy Moretti for taking pictures, and DJ Sykes for keeping the students on the dance floor. The FFA, their floral culture team took second place overall. That was Reagan Atkinson, Carlos Aguinaldo Garcia, Kayla Spitzer, and Skylar Rowland. The nursery landscaping team took third place overall. That was Reagan Phelps, Kiara White, Anaya Childs, and Hannah Sawyer. And their ag mechanics team took 8th place overall. That was Alex Ragoza, Alex Ribbons, Edward Cruz, and Kamari Shelton. They'll be having a seniors day at Nags Head on May 12th. They'll be leaving the high school at 7:45. Their destination is Destination Fun, which is laser tag and the arcade. And then they'll have lunch somewhere nearby. The students will have a choice. Then they'll go to the beach at Bonnet Street, and they can also play miniature golf if they would like. They'll arrive back at the school at 5 p.m. They've got a busy time ahead of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next updates are our director updates, and first up is Ms. Fannie Williams with Human Resources and Federal Programs.
Good evening, board chair, board members, and people in attendance. This is our busiest time of the year in that we are in contract renewals and all the things that we do to secure employees for the upcoming year. Thankfully, this month we had no retirements, no resignations, so we're celebrating that. Also, I would like to announce that the NIPA scholarship interviews will take place here this week. And that's, I think we had 3 students to apply, and that scholarship is $2,500 per year and renewable for an additional 3 years for a total of $10,000. Right now, I'm working as far as federal programs with Ms. Carolyn to make sure that we get adequate resources for our summer programs and also with personnel. That's all that I have for updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one, Mr. Ziegler texted me. He said, don't forget the Great Gatsby. That will be performed by high school students on May 13th.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Accountability and EC with Ms. Joria Brothers.
For the, good afternoon, good evening, excuse me. For the EC program, right now, we are currently conducting annual IEP review meetings. They're being conducted in preparation for the closing of the year. Those that are coming to an end, we're going over those, scheduling meetings with parents. Eligibility meetings are happening for the new referrals also to help us prepare for the 2022-23 school year. For the pre-K program, registration was held already. We're currently screening applications to determine those students who will be eligible to attend the pre-K program that is housed at Terrell Elementary School. Applications are still being accepted, and Ms. Girls, I'm glad you're here tonight because you stated in your email. I would like to have something placed on the website if we could, and all the social media outlets to let the community know that we are still accepting those applications so that we can try to get our numbers. Pre-K staff is working very diligently to get information back from parents. There is a summer pre-K program that will be held at Terrell Elementary School this summer, so they are working diligently to get that information back to determine the number of students that will be attending. For the AIG program, the AIG plan was approved at the last board meeting, I believe, and that has been submitted already. And staff are preparing for the closing of the year, just purchasing materials, some funds that are left, and getting prepared for the close of this year on to the next. For accountability and testing, very busy. The principals have all reported the start dates for testing, but we are gearing up to prepare for the Extend 1, the EOCs, and the EOG, and Ms. Kaminsky will be administered CTE testing. Well, it will be administered, not her, by her personally. EOCs at the high school will begin May 23rd. The EOGs at TES will begin May 24th, and the EOGs at CMS will begin on May 31st, right, Ms. Nice? Required trainings are also being held to train our staff that will be administering those state required assessments. The site testing coordinators will be trained this week, and then they will go on to train the staff probably early next week in preparation to have those staff trained to administer those tests. That's all I have for those 4 programs. Does the board have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Brothers. Next up is child nutrition with Ms. Myra Schaffner.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a brief report. On April the 2nd, me and 2 of my staff members we had our District 1 meeting in Elizabeth City, where we 2 of my staff members went with me. This was on a Saturday, and I really thank them for taking their Saturday to go with me to this meeting, where we, our state president came down and spoke with us. We also had NCDA updates from Waterville, the director. Our zone consultant, Leslie Otts, also gave us NCDPI updates. And we also had a chance to do a little bit of fun. And I don't know if any of you have ever been around the people at Elizabeth City. They love to have fun. We did line dancing and all that. We just had a real good time because it had been a while. Our last district meeting was virtual. So we had a chance to really enjoy and mingle and have a good time. We had vendors come to introduce us to different foods. And it was just good to be out, with our co-workers. We also are gonna have to do new bids this year. We were scheduled for a rollover, but with the prices and the supply chain, our vendors are not renewing our bid for groceries, supplies, and produce. So we met in Dare County on March 25th to combine our usage because we bid as a co-op, and that was submitted in April. So the bid opening is scheduled for May 12th in Raleigh, which I will attend that opening, so hopefully we'll get a good vendor. I hope we can stay with the same one, but we may not. We had, people different vendors that actually bidded on our bid. So, and May 6th is School Lunch Hero Day. That's Teacher Appreciation Week. but please don't forget your school lunch heroes.
I
Please.
I'm glad you got it.
Please do not, let me say this again, please do not forget your school lunch heroes on
do
May
an awesome
6th.
job.
On May 6th. And on May 13th, TES will have their 5th grade luncheon at 12:30. I have sent letters home inviting parents out. We're still limiting it to 2 parents per child, you know, because there's still some COVID issues, but we're gonna try to accommodate as many parents as, that come out. And like Ms. Matthias said, the middle schools is gonna be May 27th. And we also, I haven't sent those letters out. I don't know if Ms. Matthias has sent anything out, but I will get those this week. And we also received some grant funding for our, it was a supply chain assistant grant funding. And we actually got more money than what we thought we were gonna get. We got, close to $15,000 extra for supply chain issues that
Congratulations.
all the districts and stuff are having. It was a statewide thing that they distributed to all districts, and it was based on our ADM. So
That's great.
that will help us out a whole lot. That's all I actually have today. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. Our next item is our financial report with Ms. Carolyn Simmons.
Good evening, everybody. Sent out the financial report with your updated budget in there as of the end of April. We had actually 6 allotment revisions during the month. We actually got our summer reading camp funds, $21,000 to help with that summer reading camp. We got additional textbook money, about $4,000 from Indian gaming funds. And we had a little extra money for the teacher bonuses for people who were not covered in the initial distribution. I think we covered everybody, so that's just extra money that will probably end up being reverted back to the state. We have our auditors' first request for information this come down. They will be here in district on May 18th, 19th, and 20th to start that process of doing field work. We've been uploading, we're doing a lot of virtual, like we did the last couple of years, uploading documents to a secure site for them to review, and then they'll come back and ask us for additional information. We talked about at the last board meeting that you had about the change in ADM. We did get an update to that report. That initial report was 490 ADM for next year. That has been revised, so we got a little bit of a bump, 536. Our actual ADM right now is 512, so we're looking at planning allotments for next year. Then we don't have as drastic a cut as what we first anticipated. I did share some additional information with you. I emailed. We have a planning document. You're probably familiar with that the DPI sends to us. And they tell us how those different pots of money are computed based on our ADM. We've got the initial information from our small county money, our disadvantaged supplemental funds, our low wealth, plus our allotted ADM. And then we have our average teacher salaries, statewide teacher salaries that were updated for this coming year, and our benefit rates. So all that information, I emailed that to you, and as I get it, I will update that. This is the document that we need to complete our budget for next year. So there's quite a few things that are still missing out of there. Classroom teachers, our school administrations, instructional support, our CTE months of employment. We don't expect that to change a lot, but there are some of those that are based on ADM, so we have to wait till they come in. We also have our central office allotment, our non-instructional support, driver's ed, teachers assistants, and transportation. All of those are still pending, so hopefully they will update those this week. They were trying to do them on Friday with the finance newsletter. So when those are done, then I will be working on your big book, budget book, and get that information to you. So hopefully we'll have that towards the end of May, and you'll get a detailed budget with all of those, what we expect for next year. Any questions?
Thank you. You're welcome. We are now down to, are there any policies or any other superintendent's report?
Madam Chair, the only thing I have to present tonight is I just want to, save this one for last. We, just last week, we came up with a whole long list of appreciations and folks that we gotta recognize, and I saved this one, Miss India Yancey, for admin assistant. I better know her as my right hand at work. Ms. Yancey, I appreciate everything that you have done. As this admin, I'm supposed to thank you for everything you've done as my admin assistant, but really you everybody's admin assistant.
Yes.
You work with all of us as we come and go, as we facilitate as an interim, or Dr. Worrell has kind of taken you under her wing. But I remember walking in the door and several board members told me they can't understand how you do everything that you do. And so from not only me as this seat, but as my family, we just want to thank you, because I know you and my wife have probably tried to coordinate and keep me straight on some things. I find out about it after the fact, but I could not close out this meeting tonight without publicly thanking you, not only for admin professional, but just all the years we know each other. And so thank you for that. And Madam Chair, that's all I have.
Okay. Is there anything from any of the board members? Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Carlos has made a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know you got a motion on the floor, but I'm gonna pause it even right now. I'm gonna pause it. If you didn't see it, Ms. Yancey was recognized for admin
Yes.
professional week. For those of you who follow Tar Heel teachers online or at home, Mr. Marlowe Artist did highlight Miss Yancey, so that's what else I was supposed to add. So, thank you.
We'll
for
interrupt our
highlighting
motion.
that.
Thank you, Ms.
I'm
Yancey.
sorry.
Yes, you're fine. Okay, now back to motion. Mr. Carlos made a motion to adjourn. How do you vote, Ms. Janie?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ms. Robin? How do you vote, Mr. Carlos?
Yes.
How do you vote, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We are now adjourned. Thank you, and everyone have a safe evening. Okay. Thank you.